Hello and welcome to this episode of Voices of Fostering. Today I'm joined by Sol, who's come back because she loved it so much last time. Hello, Sol.
Hi, Helen. Nice to see you again.
Oh, you too, Sol. So, yeah, we think it was over a year ago when you were last on the podcast. And you just told me before we started recording that quite a lot's happened, hasn't it? So tell us, what's your year been like? Have you been really busy?
Oh yeah, it's been mad. There's been lots of things happening personally with music involvement. My foster son and I we've managed to bond quite a lot through music. We joined, well, I was already part of Sing West Lothian, which is a local community choir here in Armadale. And when I noticed that he was more and more, asking questions about it, and you could hear him singing in his room, I'm like, do you know what? Why don't you just come over and we'll see, if you like it, great. If not, and he's been there ever since. And Lorna, who's our choir director, just absolutely loves him to bits, and everyone has really embraced him. And I think music has just been such a great thing because it's helped build his confidence. It's helped build our relationship. Um, because for somebody who has, a learning disability and autism and things like that, it can be really difficult to communicate. So having music as kind of a go-between makes it a lot easier to be able to communicate with him. So yeah, it's been amazing. Um, loads of things. I was lucky enough to participate in the tattoo, the Edinburgh Military Tattoo this year.
Wow.
Singing as part of a choir on the steps of the Esplanade, which was just exhilarating. Um, I sang at the Hydro for Skippinish, again with a bunch of choir members, and yeah, it's been constant on the go all the time.
Brilliant. So just remind us then, Sol, you and your wife, Michelle, you've been foster carers for, is it 5 years now? And you've had,
5 years going on to 6.
yeah, nearly 6 years. And you've had two children live with you during that time. Is that right? One of which your son is now with you permanently. So tell us a bit about that.
So our son's been with us for 4 years now. He's 16, turning 17 actually next month. So there's a lot involved with that because in Scotland he's now at an age where he's considered an adult. So it's now starting to prepare for, what happens next for him in adulthood and help him create the most, stable environment for him for when he's ready to leave the nest, as it were. Um, but yeah, he's been growing leaps and bounds. He's doing so well in school. For him, for the challenges that he has, he's in mainstream school. Um, and he's just been, striving and working really hard to get his pass all of his exams and that. And he's very proud of himself. And I think, initially we wondered how much he would be able to achieve, but he is achieving all the milestones that we all thought he might struggle with. And it makes me so, so proud.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful as well, Sol, that he is your son, isn't he now? He's been living with
Hmm.
you for 4 years and he's very much your son.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, definitely. To the extent where sometimes the teenage attitude I could just, you know, but I think we've got that relationship where we can be really open and honest with each other, and we can, you know, get annoyed with each other and still know that regardless, we're gonna love each other,
Yeah.
right? It
It's
doesn't matter
unconditional.
how
Yeah.
angry he gets or what tantrums he throws or if he, slams the door, whatever. It doesn't mean that I'm going to love him any less or anybody in my family is going to love him any less. We learn to um, accept each other's faults and through our mistakes learn how to do things better. And that includes the adults as well, because I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that for him so that he knows, oh, actually, okay, my parents made a mistake, but this is how they dealt with it, you know? So yeah, it's been a learning curve, but he's absolutely 100% my son
Yeah.
and my wife's son and my dad's grandson and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And that's not going to change even if he does decide that, yeah, I want to move out now and I want to be a big boy
Yeah.
and what have you.
Yeah.
So
Because it's interesting what you touched on before, Sol. You know, when a child who is being in care gets to 17 or 18, they there is something called a staying put order, isn't there, where they can stay with you. But for children in care, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's amazing that he is at a point now where he has a family, you guys, who, you know, you're not just going to let him go off. You know, you've built that family, haven't you, and that support around him, and that's just what we want from fostering, isn't it?
absolutely. I think since he became 16, obviously there's talks in school about, you're being an adult. And so we've heard conversations from him saying, "Oh, I'm an adult now and I can do this and I can do that." And it really is having those conversations of, you do realize that if you move out, you have to pay gas, electric, you have to
Yeah,
pay for the internet so that you can play on your PlayStation, and you have to pay for, all the services, all the electricity, the roof over your head, your own
yeah,
food. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then it's things like, we have a dishwasher. Not everybody does, and we're lucky to have one. So one of his chores is that he fills the dishwasher. And I said, you do realize that if you move out, a dishwasher isn't standard in a property,
it's called a
Oh, so
sink.
I have to wash dishes.
Yeah,
So it was like realization. So I think, um for us, if it's something that he's really thinking about and he really wants to sort of move forward in a couple of years' time of moving out, we are actually having conversations about potentially converting the back garden. So we have a summer house back there at the
oh,
moment.
okay.
And I keep seeing on my like social media feeds of these like static like little apartments that just get put in back gardens, and I'm thinking, "Oh, I wonder." So
Yeah,
I think
so he could
that
live
might be something to give
independently
him.
but still with your, support not
Yeah,
too far away. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, so that way he has his sort of bit of independence, his own little space, but he has the comfort that if anything, if he ever needs anything, we are literally just down the bottom of the garden. Um, so yeah, so we're having talks of that.
Yeah, that sounds like the ideal setup for him. So, Sol, you're quite passionate yourself, really, aren't you, about foster carers making sure that they keep on top of their self-care. I feel like self-care is a real buzz phrase at the moment, isn't it? But it's really important, isn't it? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, being a foster care is not easy. We essentially have to wear our heart on our sleeve, and we need to open up our homes to people that we don't know, to children, young people that we don't know that might have really complex needs. Our foster son is a 2 to 1, which means that he requires attention and help with everything throughout his daily life. And that can be quite taxing. So for me, music has always been my therapy. It feeds my soul. It sort of recharges my batteries. And without music and singing and, having that interaction of, singing with a choral group, I think I would struggle, right? And so I think it's important to not lose myself in this process. Yes, I'm a foster mom and I'm very, very proud of doing what I do. And I'm very proud of having our son living with us and calling him my son. Um, it's not an easy job, but I also want to make sure that I don't lose myself in the process. And so music is the main thing that keeps me going.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about your music. You know, how much time does it take up for you?
Oh gosh.
A
I
lot.
think my family would say that I'm always singing. There's always music going on in the house. Even if I'm, having 5 minutes to myself and I'm reading a book, I'm still listening to music in the background. And I'm still thinking of like, oh, this is the next choral piece we could do. And I'm constantly working on the next project. So For example, at the moment, I've started a joint venture with my vocal coach, Helen and Gentinier. She is a brilliant, brilliant choral director. And we are starting up a new choir come January time. We've already got a few members, but it just means that, my brain's constantly on the go of, all right, okay, what could we do and what's our sound going to be like? And we've recently just picked out our name, so we're going to be called Heartland Voices. So I'm really proud of it. So it's all these sort of things that I'm really sort of delving into and putting myself out there. And I think it's important to do that as well, in our foster son's eyes, because it shows that even though things can be a bit daunting or a bit scary, because being up on stage, you do put yourself out there. And it shows him that, if we work hard and we keep trying, and, things can start to happen, and they're good things. So I, I couldn't put a time to it. I'm always doing something in between, the admin stuff that I have to do with fostering and
Yeah.
just family time and what have you.
Yeah, and it is a busy role, isn't it? There is admin to do, there is a lot to manage. But I think it is important for people to realise that you can still have the things in your life that you love, and you can balance it all, can't you?
Absolutely. And it doesn't stop me from, going out and having a drink with my friends, or having a night off where, I can give babysitting duties to my brother-in-law, for example, or to my dad. It doesn't stop me from booking a holiday. We try and go on holidays at least once or twice a year. And recently we went to Mexico with our foster son, and he got to experience a little bit of my culture being born in Mexico. And so, yeah, there's a serious side of it, but I think if you're able to create that bond with that young person, or child, it really just, everything just kind of slots in, right? I'm not going to say that, that will happen with every child that comes into a foster carer's home. Sometimes, things just don't click and you just go through the motions. But if you can make the effort to find that, that way of bonding with the young person, it really just makes everything so much easier, because you're then not doing it just as a job. You're doing it for the well-being of everybody involved. You're doing it, because you love that young person, or you deeply care about that person.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would definitely encourage people to
Yeah,
to do
you
that.
very much, Sol, don't see this as a job, do you? Like, this is
No.
yours and Michelle's and your foster son's family unit, isn't it now?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think we ever went into this thinking this is gonna be my job. We knew that there was gonna be work involved in it. And we knew that we would have people essentially like a boss, so my supervising social worker and the agency and what have you. But we definitely don't view it as a job. It's maybe at first with all the admin stuff and things and trying to get to grips with everything, it was like, oh, this is hard work. But once you get to grips with everything and how their systems work, and logging the daily, um I want to say diary. I kind of write. See, we have to do logs every day,
Yeah,
and or weekly, as I do now, because our foster son's really settled. And before, it used to be very um factual. It's still very factual, but it was very rigid. This is what happened, and he woke up at this time, and that sort of thing. Now, I think with the way things have been changing and progressing, I very much write these logs almost like a diary to him,
yeah,
so that anytime he opens it, it'll say, "Dear, today you did this, and I'm
yeah,
so proud because you did this." And, so it becomes more of me writing a bit of a story rather than, oh, I'm doing an admin job.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it depends as well, how your writing style, I suppose, and how you view things, but that's what works for me. And I just, I don't see it as a job.
It's indicative, really, isn't it, Sol, of the fact that it goes from being, as you say, quite formal and structured to realising that you're doing this role with your heart, aren't you? And with love and care, and that connection is really building.
Absolutely, yeah. And, again, don't get me wrong, there is times where I can be really annoyed at him and I'm just so cross and I don't even wanna see him, but that doesn't take away the fact that, I love him, and that's nothing's gonna stop that from happening. And yeah, it's took time for that bond to grow, but I kept myself open, to allow that to happen. And it's not easy, but I'm reaping the rewards at the moment.
Yeah, it sounds like you really are, Sol. So if anybody was watching or listening and they're maybe, on the cusp of thinking about getting in touch, they maybe have thought about fostering, how would you encourage them to go for it?
Um, I would say, have a conversation with anybody that's done a bit of fostering, or contact your local agencies or local authorities and, ask them for information. Nobody's going to force anybody to get into it, but it's super important to pick up the phone or send an email and say, "Look, can I get some more information?" Go online, go on YouTube. There's loads of foster carers on YouTube that do these blogs, and talk about their daily struggles. Social media is really good for that, actually, for sort of being able to express, you know how challenging but how rewarding it can be to do something like this. And most agencies will find somebody local that might be willing to have a chat with whoever's thinking about it. I know I talk about it all the time, and if I notice that somebody's asking a couple more questions, I'm like, "Do you want some more information?"
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be daunting, but it's not a scary thing, if you're really thinking about it, then just go for it.
Yeah.
Try it, ask the questions and see where it leads you.
And you use the word there, rewarding, Sol. What has fostering given you?
Oh, it's given me friendships. It's given me lifelong friendships, not just with like the agency and my supervising social worker. I know everybody in the office because I just I need to be able to like say hello and know everybody. So that I've built a lot of really good friendships within the office, at Foster and Relations. I have learned a lot of new skills in myself, better communication skills. It has taught me a lot of patience. It has taught me to be able to self-reflect, which in turn has given me a lot of self-peace, because I know that I'm not perfect and I'm okay with that. And if I make a mistake, okay, I made a mistake, I learned from it, try not to do it again. It has brought me friendships outside of fostering, with like our best friends that live down the road from us. If it wasn't for our foster son getting to know their son, we probably would have never talked. And now we go on holidays together.
Mm.
So we call ourselves the Addams family because we're just all the time all together. Um, so yeah, and I wouldn't, I can't imagine my life now without the Smiths, or their son or our son. Um, so yeah, it kind of filled a hole, I think, having him here and having that role of being called a mum, and everything else that comes with it.
Oh, well, Sol, it's been so lovely to catch up with you, and so lovely to reflect once again on what fostering has brought you, and how it's added to yours and your wife's lives. So thank you so much for chatting today, and hopefully we'll catch up again sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Helen. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Voices of Fostering. If you'd like to find out more, head online and search National Fostering Group and make this the year you foster.